Kalac. I was born in 1981. Makes me 41 years old right now. I grew up in Kitsap County in Washington State, and my childhood was pretty good for the most part. I had a loving mother, a loving father. I had two younger brothers, and we all got along pretty well for the most part. Things didn't even start going downhill until I started drinking and doing drugs when I was about 16, 17 years old. And, from there, it was in and out of drugs and in and out of drinking real heavy. And I even had a period there where I was sober for about 5 years. But right before my crime, which was, first-degree murder, I stayed drunk for, it must have been 8 months straight. Nothing but, vodka and ice house every day. And I was drinking about a half gallon of it every day. Still not even sure to this day how I managed to hold down a job, but I did.
Active
and
addiction.
then, of course, all that led up to me killing my girlfriend. Not 100% sure exactly how we got down that road. We never really argued like that. Never really got physical or anything. So that one night, the majority of what I can tell you is what I learned at trial.
So, what all do you remember of it? Just
Well, there's bits and pieces, that I can remember and stuff that I can't remember. And even not even just, of the crime itself, but leading up to the crime. I was painting houses, multi-million-dollar houses out on Bainbridge Island with a crew of guys. And I honestly couldn't even tell you what the last house looked like that we were painting. And that would have been right up until the day that this crazy stuff happened. But so okay, what I do remember is I know I started my day with a screwdriver because I always do. And that'll get rid of the shakes and make it so that I can go to work. I don't remember any of what I actually did during that day at work. I vaguely remember getting home. I know we had to stop by a convenience store on the way home because I got an 18-pack ice house, and I was drinking that while I was waiting to go to the grocery store to grab another half gallon of vodka. That I don't remember buying, but I know that I had because I knew we were drinking that night. And after that, I don't remember Amber coming home. I don't remember us getting into any kind of an argument. I have little bits and pieces of flashes of memories that don't make any sense because they feel like they're out of sequence with other stuff. I remember a flash of having my hands around her neck, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember the act of actually strangling anybody. So it's weird for me to look back on something like that. It's weird for me to see that. The blackouts are a crazy thing, man, because I've heard from a lot of people that, memories are supposed to trickle back over time and this and that, and nothing's ever changed. A good portion of that night is just completely blank to me. I remember being in a bar in Portland, joking around with somebody, and that was, of course, later that night. I don't remember taking her car. I don't remember driving down there. I don't remember who I was talking to at the bar. I just know I was down there at a bar. And I think it might have been later that night. It might have been the next night. I'm not solid on this either. But I know that I ran from the cops. That was clearly in the news, and it was brought up during trial and all that. But I do remember sitting behind the wheel with, red and blue lights flashing behind me. Uh, I don't really remember the chase, but I do remember the scene. So it's kind of weird, man. It's all kind of broke up. And then, of course, I remember turning myself in, like kind of coming to out of a blackout as I'm trudging through this field, and I kind of came out of it, and I'm looking around. I'm like, I have no idea where I'm at. I have no idea what's going on. I just got this really, really bad feeling. And I seen a cop at a transit station, and I walked up to him, and I said, hey, look, man, I was like, I got a really bad feeling that you guys are looking for me. And as soon as he ran my name and found out who I was, the guy was so nervous, he handcuffed me around my backpack. Like, if you ever tried to put your arms around behind you, around a backpack, it doesn't work very well, but he was more nervous than I was.
That's yeah.
But, aside from the actual process of getting arrested after that, that's about what I remember.
Do you think any of it is, like, hiding in your subconscious, maybe? Like, you just trauma blocked it?
I would really love to say yes and say, yeah, with psychiatric help, I could draw those memories out and this and that, but I'll be completely honest with you. I've been a blackout drinker for most of my life, and the stuff that I've blacked out because I was drinking has never come back to me under any circumstances.
Okay.
So this is just like with any.
It might be in there, but I doubt it.
So you said where you black out like all the time. So that's just like any memory for any incident you ever had, you just don't remember it.
Yeah. Like I can remember. I can actually remember going over to hang out with her and meeting her parents for the first time. Well, I remember part of the night anyway. I remember meeting her at work because I was already like 3/4 of the way into a half gallon of vodka. I remember showing up at her work, well, outside her work, and we met up and drove to the store and got another half gallon of vodka, and that's where I kind of blacked out. And I guess we were being pretty loud and pretty rambunctious in the house, and I got kind of aggressive and pulled the door off the hinges and yelled at her dad or something like that, and then I took off running through the woods. Well, the next day, this would be early morning. We're talking like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning because the sun was just coming up. I came out of a blackout walking down the side of a busy 2-lane highway.
Were you always an angry drinker?
Sorry?
Were you always an angry drinker?
No, not always. It seems like I don't know exactly what it is. There's definitely something going on with me where I do get angry from time to time. It's definitely not every time. It's like 1 out of 5 times I get really angry. The other 4 times I'm just kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of, great guy to get drunk with. But that one time will make you regret ever drinking with me.
Something just triggers it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's like I'm not much of a drinker, so I've never had like any blackouts or anything. Is any of like your mom or dad or anything a drinker, or your siblings?
My mom didn't really drink very much. She kind of waited until all the kids were, at least close to 18 before she started drinking again. And even then, it was, she might have one cocktail, maybe 3 nights a week. My dad was a little bit heavier of a drinker. He would drink beer on a pretty regular basis and go to the bar and hang out with his friends. But he never had any incidents like I did either. So I don't think it's any one thing that runs in the family. Like my little brothers, as far as I know, my youngest brother, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time with him and around him since he grew to drinking age. Half of it's because I've been in here, and the other half is because I live on the other side of the country from him. So I don't think he has any kind of a drinking or drug problem. And then there's my brother Tom, who was definitely an alcoholic, but he would get drunk and want to go do drugs. He wasn't like a violent drunk, so a little bit different, a little bit the same.
Did you have any anger problems, like, in your sober life? Like, when you were sober, were you angry?
I think everybody gets angry from time to time, but when I'm sober, I deal with it in a completely different way than I do when I'm angry.
Right.
When I'm sober, I can go, okay, I got to look at this from both sides of this thing. What's going on here? What's my part in it? I really try to be analytical about it, and I really try to resolve my anger the right way. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's I try to. But when I'm drinking, there's none of that. It's instant anger for. I mean, it could be something absolutely. I've got friends to this day that will tell me straight up, I have no idea why you went off on me that one night. Just no clue. And of course, me being blacked out drunk, I had no idea either. So I can't even tell them why.
Do you think, like, do you have, like, any mental health issues that you think could play a part in that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm currently being medicated for several mental health issues right now, and the medication's helping. I'm doing really well. There's a social anxiety disorder. All right, so there's the depression, which was classified as severe. That I'm medicated for that. I'm medicated for the social anxiety disorder. I do not like being around groups of people if I can help it, which really sucks being in here because I'm constantly around big groups of people. And then there's just the general anxiety that I get. Just kind of with everyday living. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but when you compound that kind of stuff over time and it's not treated and you don't deal with it, it can manifest some pretty gnarly stuff apparently when I'm drinking, because that's the only time that kind of stuff ever comes out of me.
Yeah, untreated depression and stuff, I've heard that it can cause brain damage and things like that in a certain part of your brain.
I believe it.
Yeah. Going back to, your crime and stuff, I know your case is kind of well known for, you posting, like, her picture and everything. What was it, the 4chan?
Right.
Do you remember doing that, or is that something that's still kind of blocked out too and from blacking out?
No, I don't remember doing that at all. Which is kind of crazy because they showed during trial, they showed a video of me walking out of Walmart, which is, I guess, right before I posted those videos. I don't remember ever going into Walmart, let alone coming back out of Walmart, but I could tell just by the way that I was walking that I was really, really drunk.
Oh, okay. So, because I know that's one thing your case is really known for. And you said you got, what, 74 years? Or is it 82?
It was 82.
Yeah, 82.
82 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, with good time, it's something like 74.
Okay, that's where I got the 74 at. Okay. Do you think, like, how did your trial, like, how long did all that take?
My trial was kind of a mess, man. They, my first lawyer that took the case ended up accepting a job as the department head for the defense attorneys for my county. So he stepped off the case, and then somebody else stepped in. This is all pro bono appointed state appointed lawyers, which means that I got the short end of the stick the whole way around. But so my second lawyer was working on my case and was about a year into working on my case, and he up and had a heart attack and ended up dying. So his second had to take over the case. So it was another year and a half before we even went to trial. So the whole setup with everything leading up to it took forever. And I believe that I got the short end of the stick. And the only reason I say that is not because, I was there during trial. I saw all the evidence presented, and I can honestly sit here and say that, yes, it sure looked like it was me that did this crime,
Yeah.
And I can understand doing time for that. 100%. I can understand doing, a large portion of years for that. But 82 for something that I can't even remember doing seems excessive.
I can agree with that.
Did they actually try to like play that off, like maybe saying you were faking the blackouts, or?
Yeah, of course they did. Yeah, I mean that was the whole prosecution. Their whole case was built on that, on basically saying that there's no way I could have been in a blackout and planned out the night as it went. And all I can say is that the year that I went on trial for this murder, the alcoholism as a mental illness, not as an addiction, but as a mental illness, went into the mental health guidelines that year. So the guidelines that they used to determine, okay, what level is your depression? What level is your anxiety? Do you have social anxiety disorder? Are you bipolar? That kind of stuff. At what level are you there? The manual that they used for that, alcoholism got put into that manual for the first time ever, and it was completely ignored during the entire case. Like the prosecution was fighting down the fact that severe alcoholism is in itself a mental illness. And the defense, they tried. I'll give them credit. They definitely tried. My entire case was about mental illness and alcoholism. But I guess the courts just aren't ready to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I could see that, like them just kind of going the way.
I think it's how society views everything too, because I've been in active addiction and stuff like that, and people are like, "Fuck that! It's not a disease. It's your choice," and all that shit.
That way.
Well, I mean, they even presented evidence because at one point I pawned a laptop, and it took me, I guess the pawn shop was almost a half a mile away from the grocery store that I went to, and from the time of the receipt of me pawning the laptop, there was 2 minutes and 30 seconds from the time of me cashing out at the grocery store where I had bought a half gallon of vodka. So they basically use that to say that, the drive to find more alcohol and drink more alcohol was so overpowering that it overrode all other thought, which I can definitely attest to that. That has definitely happened multiple times throughout the course of my life.
How do you handle, like, where you can't drink now? How do you handle that? Does that bother you any?
So it's kind of weird. Have you ever done any jail time or anything like that?
Nope.
No? Okay, so it's way easier to explain that way, because if you're a smoker and you go to jail, you just kind of turn it off. You stop thinking about it because you don't have access to it,
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the jails out here anyway. I don't in West Virginia, but so there's no access to alcohol here, and it's, from what I understand, really difficult to produce, and they're on it anyway, so it would be kind of ridiculous to try. So no, I think the craving would only exist when I have like a legitimate road to get more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it was easily available for you, and you could get it whenever. Yeah.
Yeah, around here we just had a
Exactly.
guy get arrested a few months ago because he was running drugs into the jail. He was a CO and he got arrested for it because he got caught.
That happens on a regular basis. That happens all the time.
Yeah, trying to think. Yeah, there's quite a bit of like shows and
Sorry,
stuff.
say it again?
Yeah, there's like quite a bit of shows and stuff, that deal with prison that talks about that. I know, like I've been to like the prison here, but it was for like the paranormal, where I do paranormal stuff and things like that. It's about the only time I've been in a jail setting, but just listening to like their stories and stuff of like what inmates used to do or what was brought in. It really is fascinating.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure you got some good stories. There is if nothing else, inmates are incredibly smart about bringing stuff in and making stuff out of nothing.
What's one thing you've heard that's been kind of crazy that somebody has made out of nothing?
The first one that pops into my head is the show Mythbusters. They did an episode a while back where they made a crossbow out of nothing but newspapers and the elastic band out of underwear.
Wow.
Huh, that's interesting. I know there is an old jail I went to in Kentucky, and the guy got out. I think it was two gentlemen, if I remember correctly, but he had like photographic memory, and so he carved the key out of like a bar of soap, I think, if I remember correctly, and then he had made a gun and dyed the gun out of like dyed it black, but it was, I think, a bar of soap as well, and the actual CO thought it was a real gun, and that's how they got out of the prison.
Nice.
They end up catching them, but I'm pretty sure it was two guys, but this was like an old jail that was like built in like the 1800s. I forgot when it actually shut down. It's a bed and breakfast now, but I actually had stayed in the jail cell parts, and they had like a bunch of stuff up, what people made. I think the actual gun that he had made was in there. I forgot how he done it, but yeah, it was really interesting. But yeah, I was like, could you imagine being the CEO and be like, oh, he would literally just got away with a bar of soap, looked like a gun.
No, I definitely believe it. They in certain prisons out here, they won't let you have magazines with life-size guns or knives in them because you can cut the picture out and tape it to something that kind of closely resembles that shape, and then all of a sudden it looks real.
Yeah, I can see that. Going back with you, like with your family and stuff. I know you said like your dad and everything. Like, is your family pretty supportive of you and keep up with you?
Some of my family is really supportive. My dad, I stay in contact with my dad on a regular basis. We're closer now than I think we ever were before any of this happened, which is weird, but it's also really cool. My youngest brother won't have anything to do with me. My middle brother is dead. He actually died 2 years after I got arrested.
Sorry to hear that.
I've had a bunch of people die since I got here, but really, it's my aunt and my dad are the two main family members that I stay in contact with.
Do you have like any friends? Because I know like where I'm going at. Because you always talk to like a lot of people, and it's like once I got arrested, like my friends, family just abandoned me. You don't hear from anybody. So do you have any friends that keep up with you? Like,
oh yeah, no, definitely. My mother's best friend. When I was growing up, I stay in contact with her on a regular basis, and my best friend growing up, I stay in contact with him too. Obviously, I'm not as close to anybody as I would like, but yeah, I mean, I still have a few people that have stuck with me, but it's a lot of people have fallen off, and I'm not sure if it's completely just because of my crime or because I'm no longer socially available, if you know what I mean.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I get what you're
like
saying.
kind of like you always get that with like people that like job changes or they got kids and say their friend don't have kids, so it just seems like they kind of drift apart. So do you like? Does any of them visit you and stuff?
I've only had 2 visits the whole time I've been down since 2014. My parents came to visit me, and my aunt and uncle came to visit me. So I don't really do the whole visit thing. Most of the people that would come and visit me live on the East Coast, so it's kind of a big deal for them to get out here.
Yeah, especially the way everything's jacked up on prices. Inflation is crazy.
Yeah.
Does that affect
Yeah, it's getting us
commissary for
in
you
here
guys?
too.
What's like the biggest price change you've seen on something you guys have to get?
We see it a lot on the commissary list.
Mhm.
Everything is going up. I mean, we're talking from honey buns to regular hygiene like soap and items like ibuprofen and that kind of thing. We've had price hikes, over the last 6 months of $2 or more for individual items, but our pay has been the same since the 1990s. I still make 42 cents an hour right now.
How many hours do you work?
I work 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. I get paid once a month. If my hours total up to more than $55 a month, I'm just screwed out of those hours. The maximum I can make is $55 in a single month.
Wow. Yeah, $55. That's see, since gas has kind of went down out here, I think I can fill my vehicle up for 40. So yeah, $55 for especially just in 1 month. Yeah, you really can't get a whole lot on
But
that.
we live out in the middle of nowhere, so we gotta drive 100
Yeah.
miles to get anywhere.
It's pretty bad. I mean, everything that I get costs the same as whatever you guys get on the streets. If I want a box of ramen, I have to pay like $7 for it. But if I want to buy a book from one of the magazine companies, it still costs $20 for a regular book. So between that store order and one book, that's my whole month's pay.
Right, it all costs the same as it does for us, but you're making way less money than everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, would make it rough. What's one thing like that you miss since being locked up?
Pizza.
That's it. I've heard other people say that they can't get like. I talked to one gentleman before, and he had mentioned, which he's actually in Washington as well, but he said they used to have pizza until COVID, and then they quit serving pizza.
Yeah.
So is it the same situation for you as well?
Well, so they have the pizza that they serve on what's called mainline here is terrible. It's you can barely even call it pizza. It's basically cardboard with a little sauce and some fake cheese on top. What we used to get is we used to get fundraisers where I would have the 55 on my spendable account, and they would come through and ask everybody, fill out this piece of paper. What do you want? You can order up to like 4 pizzas, and a month later, after we paid for it, we would get 4 cold $5 hot ready pizzas from Little Caesars, or however many you ordered, and a 2-liter of Coke. But yeah, ever since COVID hit, they took all our fundraisers away. So we're basically stuck with whatever's on commissary and whatever's on mainline. And mainline food is horrible. So
Do you know if they plan to bring it back now that things are kind of settling down?
You know, the DOC, the Department of Corrections, is so horrible, first and foremost, about allowing anyone to have any type of information.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
They don't like to tell us anything. So
Right.
the DOC is really terrible about giving us information about anything. So even when we do get a little bit of information, half the time it's incorrect.
So do you
So
guys?
there's no way for me to say we might get them back, we might not, because even if they say you'll get them back, they've changed stuff so much over the last couple of years where they said you're going to get this, and then right before we're supposed to get it, they take it back. So I have no idea.
So basically, just kind of up in the air. It might happen, it might not happen.
Exactly, and I'll be honest. I don't think they even know half the time what's going on. So,
do you think that's on them or just people above them?
see, it's really hard to say because I think the way it works here is really messed up because everybody's a state employee, so everybody wants to do the job in a way that they continue to be able to do the job, but they also don't want to ride anybody too hard above them because then it'll look bad and then they won't be able to keep their job. So it's the whole thing is just a mess. The people on top, like all the guys in the admins, none of them have ever stepped foot inside the prison, and if they have, they've done one tour, real quick of the living units, never even talked to any of the inmates, and they're in and out in like an hour, and that's it for the next 10 years. I think things would be a lot different. I think our living situation would be a lot better if some of the higher ups would come in here and actually interact with some of us to find out what is working and what isn't working, because there's a complete disconnect between how we actually live in the living units and how they think things are supposed to go in administration.
Yeah, I could see that because where I used to work at before, like us doing security work, they never would let us they wouldn't get our opinion on things. Sometimes they would, but then if they'd be like, "Hey, you think this would be a good idea?" and we'd be like, "Oh yeah," or "You should try it this way," they would agree with us. And then when they talked to higher ups from they came from Columbus, which is like 3.5 hours away. But once they talked to them, they would basically be like, "No, we're not doing that," and then they would end up making it something way off the wall that does not really help us out at all and just makes it hard on us. Like they had put in a excuse me, a gate in our hallway, and we tried to tell them to move it up in front so we could go to the bathroom and everything. They're like, "No, you can just walk around the building." They eventually, once we complained enough, they gave us a button so we could hit it and it would rotate till we could walk through it. But yeah, they were literally wanting us to walk around the building, through the parking lot to go to the bathroom, and then walk all the way back around. And I'm like, that does not help us at all. So I could see, like you saying, they just kind of do their tour and just little things here and there, just to make it look like they've been there and know what's going on. But really and honestly, they don't have no clue at all. And like you were saying, in your case, if they talk to you guys could probably tell them, "Hey, this is what we need," or how things should work. But whether they would listen or not, it's hard to tell. They'd probably just be like most companies, "We don't have the money to do it," or something like that.
Because they pocket it.
Yeah, very possibility.
Now they definitely like to do that kind of stuff. They I will never understand it because I used to work construction. I used to see the same thing on the blueprints. We get blueprints handed down from the architects or the plans drawers, and you'd hand them to the to the planning guys who are actually supposed to start building this stuff, and they realize real quick, this is some of the stuff that you drew up looks great on paper, but it is literally physically impossible in the real world. And you would know that if you ever came down and swung a hammer. And it's just it's amazing because it traverses all walks of life,
Yeah.
So I think pretty much anywhere you are, if you're in the lower levels of something, you're going to get screwed over by the higher ups because they don't take the time to try and pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Especially in the prison system too. Like, I know everybody just doesn't care, and a lot of people don't think of people like that. I think like prisoners don't deserve stuff and like basic human needs. Now, like child molesters and stuff, I could see like, yeah, let them rot, but like everybody else, it should be about rehabilitation.
But and that's the funny thing is because the place where I currently live at is called Stafford Creek Corrections Center. It's not a penitentiary. It's not a prison. And they go out of their way to remind us that this is not a penitentiary. This is not a prison. This is a correction center. Meaning that they're supposed to correct our behavior.
Right.
They want everybody outside the prison to see that that's what this building is here for. It's for correcting the behavior of the criminals. But they don't do any of that. The programs that they have here are for people that are within 2 to 5 years of getting out. So anybody else that has more time than that, they're just burned. You're just stuck here doing nothing, making no progress, not trying to make yourself better. Like for me, for instance, I will never have access to those programs.
That's unfair, I feel like.
Yeah, that is messed up.
I mean, I should at least be given the opportunity to better myself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd think so.
Like, even if
You
they
would think
didn't
so.
plan on releasing you, you still should have that option to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't let me take any of the classes, and I've tried to sign up for them. They just, they keep telling me the same thing over and over. You have too much time. You have too much time, which is basically saying you're not worth being better. Is what it comes down to. Is that they can't mark me down in their little ledger that says, okay, we did good with this guy because right before he got out, we made sure he got all the classes that he needed. I'm just stuck here to rot.
Which I've always heard the term though too, like what you're saying, like they're not really doing anything for you all. Like I said, in your case, they just give you that excuse. But I know a lot of people say they go to prison, they become better criminals, as all prison places teach you, and that they don't really, like you said, they don't really help people. They don't correct anything. Excuse me.
I think a lot of that depends on the type of person that you are when you come to prison. What it really comes down to is were you a criminal before you came in? Because I wasn't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had committed some crimes. I have crimes on my record, but they weren't property crimes. I wasn't breaking in and stealing anything. I wasn't stealing from people. I wasn't doing anything like that. I wasn't selling drugs. I wasn't a pimp. I wasn't, I didn't do any of those things. I just got drunk every once in a while and got into fights. That's what happened most often to me. So I wasn't really a criminal before I came in here. But I'm considered a criminal now, of course, because I'm doing felony prison time.
How long
it
have you
seems to
served?
me like there should be. I am more than willing to educate myself. I'm more than willing to try and better myself if I'm allowed to. And I think that's a big thing right there. It's all individual. It's all based on the individual. Is this individual? What does he want? Does he want to keep going back out and commit crimes? Because if he does, then this is the perfect place to learn how to do that. because you're gonna learn how to be a better criminal in here if that's what you set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you set out to be a better person, and if you set out to educate yourself, you can do that too. If you're within 5 years of the gate. So it's conditional.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, just because I know you always hear people, they go in and then they come out and they're the same person. But like you said, it just depends on who that person is and what they're trying to do in there. Like in your case, say that I don't know how the law could ever change. Well, we never do know how things will work. But say because you've been in there since what, 2014?
Right.
So say in a couple years they say, hey, your case is looked at differently. We're going to let you out, in a few years. Do you think they would let you take the programs, and do you think you'd be all right in society? Do you, like, no threat? 'Cause I know a lot of people think, once you go in prison, that it's always stuck to your name and there's no hope for you and you couldn't live, out in the free world and all that. Do you think you could be fine and succeed?
So that's a really that's a really deep question. It would worry me. It would concern me a lot because everything is really structured in here. For as much as it's breaking down and for as much as it's unpredictable, it still is really structured. I think if I had a really good support network out there, and I continued not only to take the classes in here, but to continue that type of work, like going to AA and attending drug and alcohol classes and that sort of thing out there, then yes, I know I could make it work. Would I be nervous about it? Absolutely. But I definitely feel like I should be given that chance. Maybe not in 2 years, maybe in another 10, maybe even another 15. Like I said before, man, I am here for murder. Whether I can remember doing it or not, somebody died.
Mm-hmm.
And I take full responsibility for that, and I wouldn't feel right to do less than 20 years before I would start feeling okay about even thinking about being released.
I think that's really respectable too, because a lot of guys will just be trying to get out of it, and you acknowledge and take accountability and stuff.
Well, it's I guess I don't have to, but it feels like I do.
Right.
Yeah, like in your situation, like it probably, like I know you always hear people say that too, like, it could happen to anybody, and it honestly can. Like your situation could have been different, could have been avoided, it could have been like things like you said you don't remember, even though they tried to use that against you and say, you were lying about it, but it's still a situation. I don't see your incident defining who you are as a person, if you know what I mean.
Right. No, I mean I'm definitely not the person that I was that night. That's one instance in one evening that has defined the course of the rest of my life. But yeah, I don't believe that it should either.
Well, would you try to get back into construction work if you did get out?
I'll be completely honest with you right now. If I get out for whatever reason, I would be happy to take whatever job could come my way. And clearly I would have to do something like that because people hiring felons out there, it just doesn't work out very well for a lot of guys. But yeah, I think construction would probably be the best idea because I have the most experience with it.
How long did you actually work construction for?
Well, when I was real young, my parents they used to buy houses, and we'd live in them for 2 to 5 years, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less, and we'd fix them up while we were living there. So I kind of had a crash course of that stuff when I was pretty young, but Um, I've worked in construction for a good portion of my life.
So it was like something that your dad kind of done and just kind of, like I said, passed down
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, it was. I think it was his idea of the best way to make money off of his own personal time and his own personal work, because all the money that we put in and all the time and work that we put into each one of these houses, every house that we moved into was a little bit better than the house that we left, and we left every house a little bit better than when we got into it. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Is he, you said you're 41, so is he in his 60s or is he older?
Yeah, he's in his 60s right now.
Is he retired or does he still do stuff like that?
No, he's retired from what his main job was. He worked at one of the naval shipyards for most of his life, but it was the stuff that he did when he wasn't at work that is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which a trade like that is good because people's always hiring stuff like that, and it's good to have that type of knowledge. If you're trying, like you said, trying to do just basic, home stuff to improve places that you live at and stuff like that. And which, trying to think, was that when COVID first started? When like lumber went up to like,
Oh, hell
yeah,
yeah.
lumber was like outrageous. Trying to think I think it was like right when COVID started. It was like right in the middle of it, in the beginning. Trying to think, it was like, what was it, like $300, and it went up to like, it seemed like $1,000 for the same type of stuff. Like nobody was building anything.
Yeah, nobody was trying to hire anybody to build.
Yeah, like people was always making the joke.
From
like,
what I hear now is that everybody's trying to hire everybody, and nobody wants to work.
Yeah, I think
that's what I keep hearing on the news.
Yeah,
so.
A lot of that does kind of, you got, best way to be, I'm guessing the best way to explain it, it seems like where a lot of people was just getting, what was it, like $800?
They're getting stimulus checks and unemployment and COVID pay and everything else.
I know you were getting like, how much, it was quite a bit that people was getting if you're unemployed, and where they were getting like extra, was it like $800 a week?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were getting quite a bit of money.
Sense.
Yeah, they were getting quite a bit of money not working, and so everybody just kind of lived off that. And yeah,
we could live better than working.
Yeah, you literally could
40 hours.
I'm thinking it was like $800 a week, and that's more than what a lot of people were making on a minimum wage job a week.
But around here, I noticed too, everywhere says that they're hiring, but I have quite a few friends and family members that have applied several different places and keep getting denied, so they must not be hurting too bad.
It's which nothing with the younger generation, but a lot of the younger generation kids, they don't really want to work either.
Well, a lot of people are doing their own shit too, like making
Yeah.
music, art, and they're making a hell of a good living off of it.
Yeah, social media has really made it easy for people to like make their own content. Like there's people like do YouTube and stuff and just make whatever, and if they got a good following, like they can make thousands, millions. There's like kids just opening other presents, making millions of dollars.
Yeah, unboxing videos.
Yeah.
Our kids watch that shit.
That's amazing.
Which I think when you were out, I don't think that was as big yet.
Not quite
You
yet.
have 60 seconds remaining.
No, I don't really remember much stuff like that going on.
That was our interview with convicted murderer David Kalac. We got introduced to him by our friend Dakota. We have an episode with him as well if you guys want to check that out. This is his dear friend David. I just want to shout him out for introducing us. I think it went pretty well. You have anything to say?
Yeah, I knew of David before when his crime and stuff was big. I don't realize it's that 2014, a long time ago.
Willie was born.
Yeah, like I knew of his case. Some reason I never wrote him, like I know some people that wrote him. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm surprised my voice didn't go out because when he called, since I've got up.
You're like hacking.
Yeah, I've been like really bad off.
Anyways.
It's a whole lot better though. Yeah, I have a friend. She wrote him, I think, not too long after he got arrested and everything. So I've known of his case, but I don't know why I've never wrote him. But I've been talking to him most of this year, about, I think, March.
I mean, I know it probably always sounds weird. We get on here like, oh, that guy seems like a pretty good dude, and they're murderers and stuff. But you know, like shit happens. It could be anybody.
Which it doesn't surprise me when he said that that was the whole prosecutor's case, is saying that he
Right.
was lying about it. But there are people like that.
There's a lot of people that do lie about it, but I believe them. I mean,
No, I'm just talking about being able to like black it out, and actually being, like you said, high functional and all that.
a high functioning addict, yeah.
Like it happens. Like he said, could be maybe mental illness tying into it, and as well.
I
With
mean, I held a
drinking.
job in the worst of my addictions, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a pretty respectable guy because he's like, you know, I don't think that I should get out now. He's like, I wouldn't feel,
Well, he was saying, you know,
yeah.
he could, even if he's ever like, which I don't agree with that. Like what he said, he's in a correctional center, but so he's in there for 82 years, like he was saying. That's where I remember in his email he said he could as early get out 74 years.
That's
That's
bullshit.
still that's 6 years.
But I think that's respectable of him because a lot of people would be trying to fight it, like, oh, fuck that, I shouldn't serve anything, I don't remember. But he's actually like, no, hey, there was solid evidence, like, not saying I didn't do it, I just don't think I should serve this much time. Like, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's a good argument.
Because 74, say that he got to 74 years.
He's 41.
He's 41.
He's dying
So,
there.
well, minus off 8 years. So 66 years that he would have left. So yeah, that'd put him over 100 years old.
Yeah, he would die in there if he served full sentence. I hope they change their mind on it because he seems like a pretty good guy.
Which
you know what I mean?
Which I think in his case, I would like what he said. If he has a good support system, which it seems like, you know, he's got family
He's got
and
his
stuff.
dad and stuff. Yeah.
You know, his best friends. I don't think he would go down that path. But it is.
Well, having access though, you never know.
That's what I found kind of interesting when he said that, because like I see that, but I kind of wonder where people's always like, you know, killers, you know, how they stop killing when they go to prison. But I guess you could almost say that's. Could you compare that?
I don't think he really would be classified with the killers.
Well,
I mean, like he did kill someone.
Well,
but you know
I know
what I mean?
that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about. Could you say that when like a serial killer's in prison where they don't kill anymore? Is that because it's not easily available?
Well,
Could you compare it with the
I don't think
alcohol with
so.
him?
I don't think so because there's people around you. You could kill anybody at any
Well,
moment.
a lot of serial killers kill women, though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, like if you specified in women, sure. Like if you didn't feel like killing men, yeah, you're probably fine. But unless you wanted to try to kill a CO, like if you're in there for life anyway, a lot of lifers don't really give a shit. But
I think, like I said, I think that he could be.
I think he could be rehabilitated with the right resources.
They should
They
should still let him do that.
That's
just in
bullshit.
case, like I said, what if he does something does change?
Well, you know some.
Excuse me.
You know some of the motherfuckers in there that has less time that don't want to better themselves or anything. That's like, you know, qualifies for it. You know they ain't doing it. They got slots open. They can't fool me. This system's fucked. I hate the government.
Well, they could just be doing it too. Just make it look good on paper, so when they do get out and, like he said, be the same type of person they came in.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people may not even do it unless they have to, like if it's a part of their court order or something. A lot of people may not do it. I'm sure there's open slots. They can't tell me that I'm going to go on a spiral. I better just stop.
All right, but we thank you all for tuning in on this episode. I hope you enjoy it.